So what has all that got to do with the Balkans? Here's my understanding of the current state of play. First, I think you should continue to seek to integrate the region with Europe and reach beyond your borders through the EU and NATO. And I believe you should continue to work on internal integration. I think that it's important to focus on one or two things. So let me make some more specific observations. The great barriers to building the Balkan region, the Europe that I dreamed of, that many of you have, and a world I would like to leave to my children and grandchildren, and yours too, when our time is up, are essentially two. One involves objective conditions. The other involves attitudes. The objective conditions are these. If you want to build a world of shared prosperity, and I find that when people are prosperous, it takes a lot of the other political problems away or makes them see smaller. We can't have as much inequality in incomes and opportunities as exists today. Half the world's people live on less than $2 a day. 1 billion people live on less than $1 a day. 1 billion people have no access to clean water. 1 billion people go to bed hungry every night. That may make the inequalities within Montenegro, for example, seem small, but they exist here. You have to think about that. Because if you live in a market economy and you believe in it, in order for the people who are in business to do better and better and better and to hire more and more people and to allow more and more people to go to university, you have to keep expanding the circle of customers. And therefore, inequality, if it's too great, imposes enormous limits on economic potential. So, with every market economy, you accept that there indeed must be some inequality because there must be some reward to ingenuity, to taking the risk to start a business, to doing the good work of hiring lots of other people and giving them a chance to have a better life. But if it gets out of hand, you impose severe limits on the potential of the whole society. And that's a big problem I face now in the work I'm doing with the United Nations in Haiti, the poorest country in my hemisphere, where before that awful earthquake, 2/3 of the people were living on less than $2 a day. 85% of the people had no electricity in their homes. Half the children never went to school. And a cautionary, maybe instruction for the trafficking issues in this part of the world, 200,000 children in a country of only 9 million were sold into a system of indentured servitude called Restovec, primarily not for sexual exploitation, primarily for forced labor, by parents who love them. But they would be told by the family who would give them sometimes as little as $40 or $50, I will give your child clothes on the back, food to eat, a place to sleep, and I will send them to school. They always know the last promise is a lie. They're almost never sent to school. They live in the back of the house in bad conditions. But what happens? If you have 4 children and no money and you sell one, maybe you have enough money left to send the 3 to school that are left and feed them. It's a horrible dilemma and a function of inequality. The second objective circumstance we have to deal with is instability. You had this enormous run-up. You have one little example here in Montenegro. You had this enormous run-up in direct foreign investment, 3 years in a row of 9% economic growth. And then the global financial collapse happens, and it comes back to all the expansion and credit given by your banks. You didn't cause it. You didn't have anything to do with it. The rapid expansion in foreign direct investment was otherwise sustainable by your capacity to grow your own economy, but you got burned anyway. Now, what does this mean? Again, in a market economy, you must have some instability in any society. You want some room for change and different things happening. You want people to be stimulated to continue to improve, and there has to be some risk of failure to do that. But if there is too much instability, it does terrible things to the mindset of the people. After the United States was attacked by Al-Qaeda on September 11th, 2001, I was asked by many people to comment about it because I had worked on this problem for a long time. And I told the truth. I said, look, I grieve for the people who were killed. Not just the Americans, but there were many people from other countries killed in the United States, including a substantial number of Muslims who were murdered on that day in our country. But it is very important that we respond to this crisis in a way that does not change the character of our country or compromise the future of our children by the way we react. And as you see from the last decade, it's been a continuous challenge both to be effective in the response and not to undermine the character of our country and the fundamental values we have. So that's the second challenge. Whether it's the financial crisis or the fight against terrorism, which you have contributed to by going to Afghanistan, for which I'm very grateful, or the spread of disease across national borders quickly, we have to find a way to have enough instability to permit the system to thrive, and places like Montenegro and the other Balkan countries to rise, but not so much that people are paralyzed and they believe there is no longer any predictability to life, and you can no longer be sure you will be rewarded if you work hard and do the right things.